The data center industry is moving faster than ever, and behind the scenes, some seriously smart people are making it all happen. Welcome to the Inside Data Center podcast, where we dive into the stories, insights, and innovations driving real change across the industry. From hyperscale campuses to game-changing technologies, we're talking to the people shaping the future of digital infrastructure. Whether you live and breathe data centers or just want to understand what's powering our connected world, you're in the right place.
Hello and welcome to the Inside Data Center podcast hosted by Andy Davis, and today I'm your co-host. My name is Pieter Schaap. We have two great guests again on the podcast here at KickStart Europe in Amsterdam. But before we go to our guests, Andy, what's your news of the day?
The pressure of this question gets me every time. I'm trying to think. I haven't got news of the day, but I'm going to go intergalactic. SpaceX and XAI merging, or SpaceX acquiring XAI, and the talk of data centers in space. So I'll be interested to hear people's opinions on that later. Is it myth or is it actually going to happen?
So your tweets will go to the moon and back, I
presume.
Then our guests, welcome Edgar from Essen, MD at Switch Datacenters. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Edgar van Essen. I'm managing director of Switch Datacenters, which is a Dutch headquartered sustainable data center operator and developer. And other than most other companies, we do the full stack from development all the way up to building it, designing it, and operating it. 15 years of history, started as a retail co-location company, but went all the way up into wholesale, build-to-suit, now only working for hyperscale plus, neo clouds, and rapidly developing 1 gigawatt of portfolio right now in the Netherlands and a little bit outside the Netherlands.
Going international. And then Jan-Pieter Anten, CEO at Mainova Webhouse. JP, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, it's easier to call me JP than Jan-Pieter Anten. It's quite a long name, no? So it always reminds me that when you get kids, never give them a double name, just give them a short name. But that has nothing to do with me here. So indeed, I'm CEO of Mainova Webhouse. Mainova Webhouse is a joint venture between BlackRock and Mainova. So what we try to do is bring the power, the utility company, and the finance from a BlackRock side together to build in close collaboration data centers within the Frankfurt region. Specifically in the Frankfurt region because Mainova is a German Hessen utility provider, and they have the majority of the knowledge of the municipality governmental landscape, and secondly, of course, they know where the power sits. And on the other hand, BlackRock that brings in the money. We are a relatively young company, started originally by Mainova, later on BlackRock joined, and we're now ramping up on fast growth. We have the first 30 megawatts almost ready, and we have a strong pipeline into 200 megawatts.
Cool, great, thank you.
A lot of megawatts to talk about.
Well, without a pipeline, you're not in the business anymore.
Exactly.
We have two Dutch guests, Andy. So one of the things that is interesting, especially because also Switch is going international. JP, you're focused around the Frankfurt area. Give us a bit of a flavor, the difference between the Germans and the Dutch when it comes to the data center industry.
Are we talking football now?
Look, first of all, it's always good that still in Europe, a lot of Dutch leaders are involved in data center industry. I think it says a lot about the Dutch culture, Dutch mentality, and the ease of cooperation with many different parts of Europe. And I think that's historically always been that the Dutch were quite strongly represented. So is there a big difference between Dutch and Germans? Culturally, 100% yes. It is, and the German is a way more bureaucratic world, I think, than the Netherlands is. But there are also a lot of similarities. So the similarities are, from a governmental perspective on data centers, is there's more and more push. Here in Amsterdam we have the consortium. In Frankfurt we have a huge lack of power. We have a lot of mayors in Frankfurt that are pushing back on data centers. They're asking the same question: is it good for the population? Is it labor intensive enough? Does it consume all the power that needs to go normally to the households? But I think the good thing is we see the world turning and shifting again, and we see that there is a lot of interest in data centers and that we are able to convey the message better why data centers are really good for our society. And so Are there differences between the two countries? Yes, many, but also as many similarities, I think, between the two.
I think that the markets, Amsterdam and Frankfurt, are quite alike in the sense that there's shortage of power, shortage of permits. Everybody wants to be there. It's still flat. So we actually, Frankfurt and Amsterdam ran into the same issues. You have to have something to offer back to society, which is green heat, which is not residual heat, by the way, but we call it green heat deliberately because it's a different product than if you have, for instance, industrial heat. So all the heat we create in the data center is coming from green PPAs, wind at sea. So what we return back to society is green heat, and it has a different value to it because municipal networks actually will be heated, preferably CO2 neutral. So they don't want a gas plant heating that, they want green heat. And that's what we deliver, and that's one of the key messages that we use in developing, and I see the same thing in Frankfurt. There's a focus on reuse of heat, but then preferably green heat. It's all about sustainability mixed with data centers, tapping off heat, and I think it's the same topic.
No, I fully agree with you. Look, the topic of gas is a difficult topic, not? Why is gas as a solution being provided? Because there's not sufficient power. So the majority of gas capacity, which is going to be built in the Frankfurt region as well, is bridging power. Then the discussion about green, the discussion about waste heat. Yes, the Dutch government and all the mayors are really pushing on reusing heat, and we are doing that very actively. By the way, not just us, all companies in Germany are doing that.
It's by law now,
It's by law, correct. It is done by law. But you also sometimes have to put question marks around, is it all good, Because in the end, yes, it's good, it's very sustainable, but sometimes the cost of bringing to reuse the heat to the outside world is bigger than just using normal grid capacity. So
now we're hitting an interesting element. That what is the purpose? Why do you offer this back? We see that as our DNA to do something back to society. If you're an American stock-listed company, you do it for the returns only. So what are you? Are you just a financial engine? Or are you just trying to do something good for society? Which is,
I think,
quite big.
We all have to run a business, so we all have to make sure that we are financially healthy.
Of course, but you can combine it. That's the point that we try to make.
If you can combine the business case with giving back to society, that is great. Considering the Frankfurt region, we're talking about legislation that's been updated over the years. There's already a lot of hoops that you have to jump through in order to get a permit to be able to build. So that's almost coming together, whereby sustainability is becoming such a core part of your business that you don't really have to specifically focus on giving back to society because that's a given. You have to do that.
But I agree with what you say in a certain way is, for company, it is a little bit about beliefs as well. Everybody will tell you the message that we go on a sustainable route. That you use green resources, green concrete, solar panels, all carbon footprint, water usage, all the normal topics that come every day to the table. But it is, do you really believe in it? Or do you do it because a law forces you to do it? And I think that point that you make, I fully agree on. On the other hand, I think your point is, a market is about buyers and sellers, isn't it? So you can develop whatever you want, but if nobody wants to buy it because your price is too high, it doesn't make sense. You have to try to strike a balance, and I think that's what we're trying to do. We are a very sustainable company. We are believing one of the most sustainable data center providers in Germany, but we try to strike the balance because somebody needs to be able to pay the price for what you bring into the data center.
But you can be different in that sense. I know a lot of industries are using subcontractors, or actually we chose to have the full system under our own control. Therefore, we are much more in control of our timelines and our costs. The savings we make with that, we can actually invest and still be price neutral compared to the others. So it's a matter how much do you want to do outsource versus how much do you want to do in-house. And that is every company has a different decision, but we made the decision to do everything ourselves, smartly, using of course local subcontractors, and thereby still hitting the price marks but being much greener and doing more stuff on top of it. That's a choice.
And I think we've talked about it already today, but as you get more eyes on this industry, there's more eyeballs want to know what the industry is doing. There's more pressure to be sustainable because you've got that community engagement where they want to know what you're doing. So you need to really, I guess, really get your story to the masses in order for them to understand. Because, like you say, you could easily see a press release that says waste heat will be given back, but what's behind that?
Yeah, but the word waste heat, again, let's stop using that. Let's make it green heat, because that's what we deliver. It's something else than waste heat.
Look, on the one hand, you're right. No? So you have probably 100 questions that we're sticking to the question. Well, in a certain point, you're right. Say, you have to bring that message to society and convey that message much clearer, and therefore make sure that data centers are being perceived much more positive.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. All of us use data centers every day. I think it will take time for that message to be conveyed. I don't know if the population is the most important message. It needs to be a message to the politicians and mainly to the EU. What the EU DCA does, what the local data center associations do. They need to group stronger together and at a certain point have a stronger message to the European decision makers. Because in the end, where data centers are going to be built in future, where the power is being given to those data centers, it can't be a local city decision anymore. It needs to be a decision that's being taken way higher up in the tree to be able to provide a sustainable future for European economy, to be a counterbalance against the United States.
I think you're making all the right arguments. Every well-thinking person in the industry understands this. But I think the thing that we have to manage is perception. Politicians have a certain idea. Civil servants, special ideas when they hear the word data center. I think the word is actually polluted. We should actually reinvent a word. That's why we call ourselves a green heat source. We do that by delivering data center services. But who cares? We're actually nothing else than a green heater. We use electricity. The servers of our customers turn it into green heat. That's what we deliver.
I hear you, Edgar, and I know you guys have been pretty disruptive in the market by doing deals with greenhouse providers and whatnot, by committing to a certain joule output on average, which is unprecedented. We haven't seen that before. It's maybe done, but not at scale. So that is something that you're uniquely positioned in, but it's in the Netherlands. Similar to your organization setup.
Denmark, parts of Germany, I think it's the same story. This business is going to become regularly normal. It's not considered best practice yet by American players. We're very much financially driven, and they see it as a liability. Why should you add another liability? You already have many. Just delivering heat at a certain contract could indeed be a risk, but you could also see it as an opportunity.
But how is this scalable then?
The scale, of course, we don't commit to the full, output of the data center initially, because we know we have to scale in. Customers will never be 100% using whatever they have in the data center. So we have a certain threshold there, and we always deliver 30 degrees Celsius. We don't go up, because then you start taking a risk. Of course, if AI comes into your data center, you know the output temperature could be even higher, but you don't want to deliver that. So you have to manage the risk of the contracts that you close with heat sources, and then it's doable.
Let's touch on a different topic. Jokingly, we call it the war on talent. So not the war on terror, but the war on talent. With the big AI boom happening at the moment, with so many new developers surfacing, there is a lot of demand for data center talent. Switch, you guys work with in-house construction teams that run your businesses, but you're also now going international.
Yep.
How do you position yourself there?
Well, in the end, we currently have 10 data centers in the planning. So with our own team, it will be difficult to do everything. So we need subcontractors, we need partners. Of course, in the end, you get into a different formula. The key for me, it's about franchising almost. So we rule the concept, we rule the processes, we rule the quality, but the local parties that you cooperate with can also use just like a McDonald's. And the guy running the McDonald's is not part of the McDonald's company, they just get a formula. So that is for me something that could very well work if you want to rapidly roll out. You still create and control a process that gives you the same flavor everywhere, same quality, but you actually also give opportunity to local people to make a good, decent living.
And Mainova Webhouse, like very centric around Frankfurt, so attracting the local talent in Frankfurt is something that you are looking at, and it's going well as far as I know. With growth, with multiple projects in pipeline, perhaps. How do you see that for Webhouse?
But you need to strike the right balance between what you do in-house and what you outsource. I think what's for us really important is a lot of what's in the pipeline was in the pre-development process. So our relations with governmental sources, our relationships with the designers, with everybody around us, the landlords, etc., will create that platform for you to, in the end, to be able to construct a data center. That's something that we like to keep in-house. We believe, so not the design itself, but the relationship. So in that thing, we try to strike the right balance. Of course, we will outsource a lot. We will stay a small company. But for the war on talent, look, here again, you need to look to the bigger picture. Because if we want to keep building data centers in the future, and not just Mainova or you guys or anybody else that's walking around here, we need to find a different structure to bring the talent to the market. That is about influencing universities, schools, trying to create different pipelines. I think that's where the war on talent is really about. The war on talent is not something that is today. The war on talent is a process. It's a longer term horizon. It's something that you need to create together. And so as long as we all keep fishing in the same pot, what we're doing today, we just drive up the market. That's the only thing we're doing. And next year we'll see a next report coming out and saying, well, the data center market is probably one of the best paid markets in this industry. And again, the salaries rose by whatever number.
But again, I think you're 100% right. It's about the long-term perspective for people, but it's also about being a good employer in the sense of that people can not just get a salary with you, but also grow with the success of the company. So we are an entrepreneurial company. We're not stock listed. So the people in our team all can buy certain percentages. Well, not all, but most of the people can buy in key positions percentage of the project the moment it's being started against a normal price. But the moment we make it a success as a team, we all can piggyback on the success of that. And that is a massive driver for people to step into it. And that's not considered to be just a salary anymore. You're a co-entrepreneur. You're part of the project. So everybody in our team is willing to put extra step. We hire the best people that are fed up with the salary. People in our team don't ask for lease cars because most of them actually are self-employed. So we all work as entrepreneurs on something. So we try to do everything in the sector in a smarter, better way than just being another American company.
I think that obviously it's my wheelhouse, I suppose, but there's I think there's multiple challenges here. You've got the early stage you've talked about, which I think falls back on perception.
Yep.
Like, people need to understand what this industry is in order to want a career in it. If they see it as a negative, they're less likely to want a career in it. So that's where our conversation is key around what we're doing and the importance of it. And then when you look at today, I think it's other industries. You know, the data center industry went through a period where it only wanted people with data center experience, and there weren't enough people with data center experience. Whereas now,
but that's interesting.
It's
we
very
actually
much
hire from different industries.
Exactly. Now,
myself coming from different industry,
and many of the great people in this industry do. And now it is much more open, and you're seeing more people come into the industry from all different other sectors like power, process, high level, any high tech engineering, and they can see the progression and the opportunity that it offers. And then on your point, retention.
Yep.
We can't afford to lose people, which I think gets forgotten.
But you have to keep people on board, make sure that everybody's making this living. They can be also part of the success of the company. Exactly. If you do that properly, and you create the right company culture, people will stay. Actually, they will invite their friends to come over as well.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes we talk about hiring a lot,
Huh?
but we don't talk about retaining the
Exactly.
people we've
Exactly.
got.
It's about corporate culture.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Oh, yeah. But look, I agree with what you guys said. But however, you need to think about what the new generation wants. So we are two grey old men here sitting on this side of the table. You are younger, so you're lucky today. But and we need to understand as well continuously that the world changes very quickly, and that young people are looking for different things than probably when I was studying and when I started working. I think the beauty of having a relatively small organization at this point in time is that you can give people a real home and can create the flexibility that a lot of larger corporates can't because of the huge amount of regulations and things that they have. And as a third very important thing is you can give them the development. They can learn on the job. They work with not many layered companies. They can see what the executives do. They can see what the people next to them do. And that gives you a very strong sense of belonging. And I think next to the flexibility in working hours, working from home, and that entire discussion, I think a lot of people are looking for to learn. And I think that's what these kind of companies
And I
really
want to
offer
be
to
part
them.
of an adventure.
And when we did our salary survey last year, the key point that people talked about was development. Whereas I think people perceive it, like your point, they think of financial. Most people don't leave their career in this industry for money. They leave for development because they can see they want to be developed, whether it's further in their career, they want to see their organisation developing, but that's what's more important. And sometimes we focus too much on the salary.
But Google in general data center individual CV, and you will see how the shuffling shares goes. Don't we all can sit on any side of the table?
There's a clear split whereby the entry level, the junior folks, very much focused on development, and the majority of developers, operators are giving a good platform for development. You see that there has been a big change in industry. At a more senior executive level, sometimes it feels a little bit like a gold rush. You see people moving from one neo cloud to the other one, As long as you have like a hyperscaler on your CV for 2 or 3 years, you're suddenly
It's a little bit
things sliced bread. So it's if we can try to calm everybody down a little bit, settle down, and create some continuity, that would be good. But with all these new businesses popping up, how are we going to deal with that? Because people are trying to poach your talent as well, I presume.
I think that's where when I talk to the funds that are entering the industry, that's where they need that level of education. Like just because it says that company name on their CV doesn't mean they're the best people in the industry. And it's understanding that a lot of the new capital obviously doesn't necessarily have data center experience. They have probably real estate infrastructure experience or something similar, but not data center. So they don't understand.
Well, actually, if you hire people, we don't look at the resume whether they hit all the big names. We look at the can-do mentality.
Exactly.
Did they finish things? What are the results? Were they taking responsibility?
And the point you touched on about entrepreneurial character, like most conversations I have for leadership, it's being entrepreneurial because this industry moves so quickly. You need agility to be successful. They don't necessarily want somebody that's in a box and their role. That's what I do all day, every day. And so that doesn't work in this industry at the moment.
Right. And my personal working in a relatively smaller company that's very much growing and entrepreneurial. For me, people that have been sitting at the desk at a big corporate, they don't fit in our organization. They are not flexible enough, not fast enough.
And it works back the other way as well, doesn't it?
It's all about speed, willingness, eagerness.
I think it's hard to say if somebody fits or doesn't fit just based on that fact that you work for a large corporate. It has a lot more to do with the individual. Where are you? How do you think? Where's your flexibility? So it's not as black and white, I think, as we just said it is, but there is a lot more to it than.
And I think and a lot of the individuals that leave those large corporates are looking for that agility because they feel like they've been too stuck in their role, and they're actually saying, I'm not developing, I want more flexibility, I want agility. So no, you're right, it's not as clear as black and white. There is
and I think the last point is what I wanted to make of this topic it's on leadership. I think you need to have good managers and leaders because people often leave because their leader doesn't support them, doesn't give them the right direction, doesn't manage them on a day-to-day basis, doesn't develop them fast enough, or don't know what he or she wants. And I think that's what leaders need to do. And if you hire that and get that up and running, I think you get very far in this business.
I fully agree. The leaders need to set the perspective. They need to set the strategy of the company. They need to communicate internally perfectly, get everybody on board, and the other people in the team actually have to do real work. But the manager is actually just like in football. It's the manager on the side trying to make the team play best. That's what you need to do. Yeah.
Last topic before we go to the rapid fire questions, and that is around third-party leases, new clients and whatnot. So the hyperscalers have been dominating the Amsterdam, the Frankfurt market, and lately we've seen a shift towards more exotic new clients entering the market. What do you see as major risks or opportunities around that? Will you stick with your traditional clients, or are you venturing into the new space of international players coming to Europe?
It's all about risk balancing. So if you build a new site and put everything with a new cloud, and the new cloud goes up 5 days later, it was an expensive gamble to take. So you have to do your due diligence on the customer. Of course, you should not put everything to a non-bankable customer. But if you only do it, let's say the easy way, you won't grow either. So it's about balancing it in a proper way between industries, a little bit of cloud, a little bit of new clouds, maybe some new cloud players from other regions entering Europe. Our own sovereign cloud companies, I would love to have them because we're a 100% Dutch company, 100% European in that sense. So the more European sovereign cloud we can do, the better. But and I think it's the same for Mainova. You're also European in that sense.
Correct. Look, for me, do we like to stay closely connected to the largest players in the world? Of course, yes. They are, at this point in time, I think the big drivers of this industry. But it's always good to keep your eyes open. Yep. So I think there is a large second tier is probably the wrong word, of companies that are looking for single tenant buildings at this point in time, which go up from 10 megawatts, 20 megawatts and higher, which are very interesting to look at. Look, for instance, at the Chinese customers today. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there was no Chinese customer that wanted a single tenant building in Europe. Today they are, and they want them. But those customers give another complication as well, because these companies, it's very hard to close parental guarantees with those guys. And if you don't get the parental guarantees, the banks will not finance you. So we all need to learn. We all need to figure out ways of different ways of doing business together to make sure we're all ready for the next wave. And then the point of governmental, sovereign clouds, that kind of industry. Look, as soon as the US is pushing Europe into the perspective that they do today, I think there was quite a good opening remark here today in this event. But then you will see that sovereign clouds become more and more prominent in Europe, and more local European providers will be placed in front to take the business from those kind of people. On the other hand, I could counter my own argument, because we see that in the majority of sovereign clouds, all the large players are on the list of being selected. So and in the same way, why did the Chinese come so big time to Europe? It's because they can't go to the United States anymore. So globalization, the world is changing. It gives us new opportunities, but also new challenges.
So one thing that I fully agree with is the education piece, and I think that what you have to focus on is not just us educating ourselves in terms of being a good developer, but also educating our clients. This is the way we can help each other. This is the way we can scale. What I see is that clients, especially the hyperscalers, have become quite bullish. They want to build on their own. They feel they can do everything themselves.
Oh, they have to adapt their approach, because there's such a scarcity in the market. If they keep on doing this, they will be out of capacity soon, because nobody likes to be treated this way anymore. We actually have many customers to choose from right now. So the market has changed. It's not a buyer's market anymore. It's a supply. So we can actually pick our own customers that do things according to what we like. And I think a lot of hyperscalers didn't get it yet.
That's quite a big shift, isn't it? When you think about it.
And it takes some guts to choose that. But I think if you're self-conscious like we are, we know what we're doing. We know we can rent it out to everybody. So why should I give an extremely steep discount in terms of conditions that nobody likes to have?
Yeah.
Clear. Let's go to the rapid fire questions. Andy, do you want to go first and ask JP some tantalizing this or that options?
Okay,
Take
go ahead.
quick fire questions. People power or compute power?
People power.
Definitely.
Frankfurt or Amsterdam?
Oh, that's a tough one. I actually live close to Utrecht, so therefore Frankfurt.
Hypergrowth or sustainable stability?
Sorry, one more time.
Hypergrowth or sustainable stability?
One doesn't really go without the other in a certain way, but I would go for growth.
We've just touched on this. Established clients or new clients?
You need to have both.
A long walk or a fast car?
Oh, for sure, fast car.
The Dutch or the Germans?
Can't be only one. The Germans.
Brownfield redevelopment or greenfield build?
Greenfield bill.
There's a theme to these ones, definitely. Bratwurst or bitterballen?
Bitterballen, of course, I am Dutch, yeah?
The CEO hat or HR hat?
CEO.
Final one. Waste heat to a pool or waste heat to a greenhouse?
I don't like swimming, actually. So I think a greenhouse.
I don't know where Pieter gets these questions from.
Well, it's a nice little segue into Edgar, because supplying a lot of.
I think I would
green
have said
heat
also
into the
all
greenhouse.
questions.
Edgar, there we go. Are you ready?
Sure.
Switching buildings or building switches?
It's a difficult question. I said switching buildings then.
100% Dutch owned or global capital?
Global capital.
Liquid cooling or the water wall?
We already did the water wall 10 years ago, so let's do the liquid cooling now.
Public support or political approval?
Public support.
Expand in the Netherlands or build a global platform?
Both.
An old logistics hall or a new concrete slab?
Sorry, and the last one?
A new concrete slab or an old logistics hall?
CO2 wise, I go for the logistics hall.
Bicycles or boats?
Bicycles or?
Boats.
Both.
An AI factory or retail co-location?
AI factory.
Giving heat away or selling heat back?
That's a nice one. Both.
Always innovating or perfecting the current?
Always innovating.
Anything either of you want to come back on?
I've got one more question.
Oh.
Going back to my point at the beginning, data centers in space.
Oh.
Is this a reality or a conversation starter?
What you call a data center. There are computers in space already. So when does it become a data center?
I'm getting too old for this.
Agree. Same here. That's why I asked the question.
But maybe if you bring a smartphone up in a rocket, you might have a data center as well. What is the definition of a data
What
center?
is a data center? There you go. We'll end on that one.
Thank you both. Thank you, Edgar van Essen, MD Switch Data Center. Thank you, JP Anten, CEO at Mainova Webhouse. Thank you for
Thanks
tuning
guys
in.
for a good interview.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, and we'll see you at the next episode.